Dr Lisa Cameron.
Many thanks, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I commend the Honourable Member for bringing this very important international animal welfare issue to this House. As highlighted by the various animal charities who work in these areas, the commercial production of dog meat has long been associated with cruelty and suffering, with a disregard for animal welfare and safety being witnessed throughout the process, from the dog's living facilities, transportation to slaughter methods. In this regard, it has been highlighted that as dogs are sold by weight, there are issues with traders force-feeding them with tubes to the point that they are vomiting as they attempt to try and increase the value of the dogs prior to taking them for sale. Dogs are often transported long distances, sometimes lasting for days, tightly packed into cages without food, water or rest, suffering from diseases and injuries from rough handling. And many dogs die from suffocation, dehydration or heat stroke long before they reach their final destination. However, in many ways, these dogs could be seen as the lucky ones, as it is reported that some dogs are exposed to the slaughter methods, some of which we have already heard, that are deliberately designed to intensify and prolong their suffering, due to a belief that torture equals better taste. Also, in situations where the torture is not deemed to be deliberate, the method of slaughter is still often cruel, with dogs experiencing a slow, violent death as they are either clubbed over the head, stabbed in the neck or groin, hung, electrocuted or thrown conscious into drums of boiling water. The legality of the dog meat trade varies across East Asia. For the majority of East Asian countries, the sale and consumption of dog meat is legal and there is no comprehensive animal welfare legislation in existence. However, there are countries that have banned the dog meat trade, and legal variations and exceptions to the trade exist across the region. I also note that in some countries, such as Vietnam, previous proposals to introduce legislation for dog slaughter were abandoned as they were opposed by animal rights groups who feared it could legitimise the trade. In addition to the impact for dogs, the current unregulated dog meat trade also has adverse implications for humans through the spread of diseases and associations with crime. Whilst in the past dogs were often eaten due to reasons of poverty, increasingly dog meat has become a delicacy, often consumed for its perceived medicinal properties.
Will my honourable friend?
I would give it a yes.
I'm grateful to my honourable friend for giving way. You were talking about the delicacy element of these things. Does my honourable friend agree that we should be working with international charities across the piece to raise awareness of the fact that that is not a reason for consuming these meats? And indeed, the Yulin Festival was mentioned earlier. A huge social media campaign in 2011 forced the closure of the Zhangjiai Dog Meat Festival. Can we encourage people to get the message out there that this is not socially acceptable behaviour?
I would agree with the Honourable Member that pressure must come to bear from as many angles as possible in this debate. Whilst however, there's a growing evidence highlighting the significant risk the trade, slaughter and consumption of dogs pose to human health, it being linked with the spread of diseases such as rabies, cholera and trichinosis. Indeed, Chinese media reports have said that Yulin, where the Dog Meat Festival is held, has the highest instance of rabies in China and accounts for the highest percentage of rabies deaths in its province. I would give way.
Very grateful to the Honourable Lady giving way, and I've got a huge amount of sympathy for what she is saying. I wonder if she'd just agree with me that, contrary to what her Honourable friend said, we are more likely to be successful here if, instead of trying to tell people what they can or can't eat, it is much better to promote these campaigns on the arguments of human health and animal welfare, and those are the best ways to get communities and societies to change. If we go down a cultural imperialist route, as desirable as the outcome might be, I'm tempted to think that there would be a very fierce backlash against that.
I thank the Honourable Member for his contribution, and I would agree that we have to be extremely sensitive when it comes to cultural concerns and to make sure that issues are focused upon animal welfare and that those are raised in a very productive way. Thank you. In terms of crime, it appears that in some Asian countries, dogs used for this industry are mostly stolen pets, and I note the survey conducted by Animals Asia found that 70% of Chinese villagers in rural areas had lost at least one dog to thieves. A Channel 4 documentary from 2014 also highlighted similar issues with dog thieves in Vietnam, whilst also raising the problems with associated violence. The SNP and the Scottish Government takes the welfare of all animals very seriously and routinely feeds into deliberations on animal welfare both at the EU and at the OIE level via DEFRA. When dealing with other countries' practices, however, there must always be an element of caution in making judgments about customs. There must also be sensitivity and a holistic approach to bringing about change, and pressure from Western governments or certain activist approaches could be perceived as counterproductive. The dog meat trade is, however, an extremely important animal welfare issue, and the SNP is extremely supportive of charities working with international counterparts to improve dog welfare globally. I would also like to add that I think the UK public as a whole are very much animal lovers and also take animal welfare extremely seriously, and I would therefore urge the Minister to also take forward these issues.
Matthew